Hi guys, it's Clarice, and today is Saturday, and we're doing a live session on Saturday today because tomorrow is Sunday, which is also Father's Day, and so I will not be available. So I figured a lot of other people will also not be available, so let's just have our session on Saturday instead, and then maybe some of us can even create something for tomorrow. I'm not quite sure. So I sent out an email and I let everyone know that we're doing it today. And for those of you who are not able to join, I guess you can just watch the video when it's available for replay. So I'm just gonna give a few seconds, maybe a minute or two for people to kind of come on in, and then we can start. Yeah, it was my terrible planning. Even though I knew it was Father's Day, for some reason I completely forgot we were going to be painting on Sunday. So here we are on a Saturday, but the good thing is you have the video available for later, so that always helps. I'm just gonna make sure that I can see your comments on my screen in the chat. So I'm just gonna keep that open before we begin. Yep, okay, great, perfect. So I guess people will just sort of start coming in, so I'm just gonna begin and let you guys know. So this week I put out a tutorial on how to do loose peonies that kind of look like this. That was the one I did for the actual tutorial, and these were my practice ones. So this first one was the first time me trying it out. Then I tried to record this, and it was a terrible recording. I tried to record this, and I didn't quite like how the water dried up here. So if you've tried the new tutorial and you're experiencing this, don't be too hard on yourself. Like, honestly, just keep trying and until you get the results that you like. So after I did that floral, I kind of went ahead and did some other splashes of color to kind of enhance it even more, and I was quite pleased. So today we'll do something not quite as similar, but we'll keep it simple to the effect of like this, like smaller as opposed to a large, more intricate that we've been doing for the past Sundays that we did with the mini florals. So to start off, I have my Canson paper, and I am going to be using my mop brush in the 1, Silver Black Velvet in the 8, the number 4, and then the Princeton Neptune in the 8 as well. For colors, I want to use a bit of brown and yellow this time, and the highlight colors will be either a purple or a pink. I'm not going to give you specific color names, but as I lay it down, and if you guys want to use another color, just kind of go ahead with it, because I find when I do Sundays, I kind of just go where the creativity takes me, so it's kind of hard for me to tell you what I'm doing beforehand, because it just kind of goes and flows. So so without further ado, we're going to start. So the first floral we're going to do is something with a yellow center, and this one we're going to use the number 4 to start off with. So let us start off with getting some of the yellow. I have my bright yellow from Daniel Smith that I'm going to be using, and I already have it pre-mixed on my massive palette, so I'm just going to get it from there right now, and I'm getting a good amount of it on my brush, because the next and it has to be fairly damp, because the next step after we do the little centers is imperative. So actually, you know what, sorry, put this aside. Let's start with the petals first, and then we can do the center, because the petals are going to be very light and the center can be nice and dark. So for the petals, I'm going to be using my Princeton Neptune number 8, and for the actual color of the petals, we're going to be using a brown. So I'm using very slight amount of this brown. So you feel free to pick a brown of your choosing. And once I put mine on paper, you will see exactly what the color is. So I'm going to start off over here. And I'm just going to do light strokes around. Getting more color right now. Till they form a circle. And I'm leaving some white space in between as well. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. And now taking my mop, I'm going to extend with just water on it and just kind of create the petals. And you see water flowing or bunching, just take your paper towel and wash that off. Same thing here. And I want it to be like a nice white, almost like a yellowy floral. So that's what we're doing here. So I wanted to have 4 petals, but when I put my brush down, it kind of extended all the way across. And now I have, sorry, I wanted 5 petals, and now I just have room for 4. But I'm going to cheat anyways and add in another one there. And so these are fairly easy, as you can see, to do. If you want to just highlight the centers again, just kind of go, take your Princeton Neptune, dip it in some more, get some more brown centers, but leave that white space in between. All right, and just let us give this some time to kind of dry up. And we're gonna concentrate on some of the other flowers around. So the next thing we're gonna do while this is drying is I'm going to get my mop brush again, and this time I am going to use a purple. Now I have the purple from my White Nights, St. Petersburg, but I'm going to mix that up with a little bit of red, like an English red or Madder Lake red, any one of the reds, and get like a nicer, more reddish purple as opposed to more of a violet. Now once I have that, I'm just going to go ahead and start the centers. And I need a good amount of this for the center, okay? So we're going dark to light. And so for that, let's make this a rose. And let's just do it over here. And so we'll do one here. We're doing the centers, which are going to be very small C strokes. And if you've done my roses before, you know exactly how they kind of pan out. So it's all about the C strokes on the insides, leaving white space, alternating. If you want to get in a different color, just dip it into the red or the purple just to give another variation of the tone. And just kind of go around. And then once we have that, I'm going to take off some of this color from here because I like to use the mop brush to spread out the rest. So once I have that, and just water on my brush here, I am going to start touching where I laid the color and go and make some larger C strokes. And I can see that there's some excess color on here. So another trick to get off excess water, sorry, not color, is to just take a brush and with just no water on it, just kind of swipe it off. And it takes away all that excess water or color, whatever mistake that you've, or overindulgence of water that you've made. It's kind of forgiving that way. And then I'm just going to continue doing my light strokes. And just kind of taper off to the end. And then I am also going to go back with the number 8 and just highlight certain areas with some of the purple that I have. Maybe a different variation of the purple just to give it a nice two-tone effect and have that blend in nicely in areas that are still damp. So like this area is clearly not damp anymore, but these ones are, so totally do something like that. Something like this here. And if it's too, like I said, if you've added too much water or color, you can just take a brush and kind of smoothen it out. So again, I'm going to take my number 8 and just smoothen out. Alright, and now once I've done that, we're gonna go back to our floral right there, and we're gonna get that yellow that we were talking about previously. And I'm just going to do strokes in this manner, so pretty much like lines, and then like slight little dots at the end of it. And if you feel like the yellow is too see-through, add some orange to it and make it more of a yellowy orange. And that also adds like a nice 2D kind of feel to it. And just let the color flow and blend. Alright, so now once we have that, that's good. We're just going to create a couple more and then we'll go into the greenery. So for that, oh, I'm just seeing a note by Arlene. Can you please share the rose colors? So Arlene, I've been using my St. Petersburg colors. So I've been using the, I believe it's the violet, and I blended it in with some of the English red. So it's a combination of the two, and then I just kind of blended using just the water on a brush to get it lighter on the outside and darker on the inside. I'm going to do that rose again so you can see me do it. So again, I had actually started off the rose using my mop brush, but this time I'm going to use the number 8 and get the color for the center. So I'm mixing some of the red with the purple, and I'm going to do my center over here. Yes, so I'm just going to turn it over just to get it in. This rose is kind of facing this way, so I think I'll have this one facing up this way. So let's just, or actually I could just have it, yeah, let's just, it's kind of tricky. I'm going to do it down this way so it gives me more space. So starting off the center, I'm just doing little C strokes. And this is where you can kind of go in, add a little bit extra purple or extra of the red just to give it a two-tone feel from the center. And sporadically add your C strokes or comma strokes. And then once you've done that, just go in with your mop brush, making sure you don't have too much water, because that's what happened here. I had a tad bit too much. And then just touching the edges, sweep across. And it gives you a nice flare of color. And flows nicely. Again, you can see, because I'm kind of pressing down my brush, it's taking on, it's leaving back too much color on the on the sheet of paper. So I'm just going to take the same brush again with just water on it, but I've dabbed off most of the water, and I'm just going to wipe off some of the color. And then I'll do the same thing over here. And I'm just adding some details at the sides. Then I'm going to leave it at that. And then I'm going to go back in with this. And because I have a nice blend happening, but you don't quite see the edges as much, I'm going to go and use the edges to kind of just create some, use the brush to create some edges. That's what I was trying to say. Because it's still nice and damp. And we can still get some nice color happening. And then we can always blend it off with using a brush with just water on it. So that is always your friend, or a paper towel. Never forget that. All right, so there we go. That's how we do that. And you can almost add some of the detailing on here too. That's entirely up to you. But I'm just going to leave it so you can see the difference in the two variations that we have going on here. So again, let's do another floral of this kind. And for that, I did a center with a dark brown. So please feel free to get a brown or the same brown you've used previously. And let's just create one. Let's create one off over here. Actually, no, let's do it up here. So I'm just going to create half of it so it looks like the other half is hidden behind the rose. So I'm laying down the color, and it needs to be nice and damp-ish so that when you go in with your mop brush or any of your other brushes with just water on it, not too much because the mop brush lays down a lot, you're just pulling from the center and you're creating the petals. Make sure if your color kind of gets out of hand, you can always use your brush to bring it back to center. So never fear if that happens and it's kind of flowing off in a different direction. Just bring it back to center. And then you have that nice light floral. And then you can always go back in the center with a darker brown, the same one you've been using, and just highlight the tips or the edges of your petals. And that's good enough. Like, you don't need to do too much. You can highlight some of your petals this way as well while it's still damp. And if it gets too hard edged, just take a brush with water on it and kind of smoothen it out. And you're good to go. So we're gonna wait for that one to dry before we can go in with the yellow. And in the meantime, we can just kind of do some greenery and some side foliage. And for that, I'm going to use the, let's use the number 8 in the Silver Black Velvet. And I'm going to mix some of the brown with a green, with a light green, and it gives me this nice brownish green. I believe there is the St. Petersburg version is called Umber, I think. But again, pick a green that works for your color scheme if you are kind of doing something different from what I'm doing here. So yeah, that would be my advice. So for this, we're just going to add some nice loose leaves all around to give it some movement and some flow. So we're gonna start off, let me just make sure my tip is nice and straight. We're gonna start off with some over here. And I just did a line, and I'm just going to, using my tip, press down and just do that. And then pushing back all the color to the bottom. Then you can go back in, get a slightly different green, have another one protruding from here, and do the same thing. And the variation in green kind of just adds a nice novelty to the whole look and feel of it. So never fear to kind of mix and match your colors, especially if they're kind of closely related. It just adds for a nicer, looser look. So I'm just adding a hint of another one here to kind of have it almost like leaving it to one's imagination. And then we're going to add a couple of them around here too. And these, I'll just have them coming down this way, just because of the space that I have to work with. It's more of a rectangular shape, so again, you're just pressing down and dragging off. And as you can see here, this one seems to be a lot lighter compared to the other colors I've been using. So just kind of go back in if you wish and add a darker green, like press down and get a darker green if you wish. If you don't, that's totally cool, just leave it as is. But the key is to get like some nice interesting greens happening all over the place to kind of really brighten up the whole look and feel of this. I'm just going to add some protruding or poking out from here as well. And these ones I want to be kind of like how I did these at the top, very loose and almost incomplete. Then let's do a couple over here as well. And then once we've done these, we have this green in 3 different areas. We can move on to a slightly different color to enhance and combine the colors to kind of formulate this nice unified painting. So I'm getting the same green, and again touching down and just flaring out, or pressing down and then just bringing it out. So you swish the green around to kind of nicely spread it. I'm getting more of the brown here so I can get a nice blend of green and brown. And you can also do the leaf in this manner, pressing down and then tapering off to the stem where you've created it. And then you can cheat by kind of making it more pointed at the end. It's up to you. But there's so many different ways you can do leaves, and it's actually quite fun. So, and then I'll just do a couple here as well, because I want this to look like a nice greeny patch with some nice florals in between. And so I'll save some of the green for later, because I might want to come back and add some more once it's done, once I've finished painting it all. But remember, when you're doing your greenery, to kind of give it some direction, because that adds movement to your painting. So washing my brush off, and I'm just going to get some, let's see, so we have purple, we have brown, we have green. Why don't we add some like violet, purpley kind of sprigs or stems. So what I'm doing is I'm going to use the same violet from St. Petersburg, and I'm just going to add a slight, just a tad amount of red to it, and possibly some blue. And for the blue, I'm using like a cobalt blue. So once I have that, I'm going to do these as almost like berries. Yeah, they can kind of work as the berries. So I'm just going to start off from here and just create some nice faint lines. And then at the edge, I'm just going to create these little berry kind of but they're longer in shape. And I'm leaving some white space in between. Kind of tie in with our whole white space, loose floral idea. And then I'm adding a little more red to this one because I want to get a slightly different purple going on for this sprig over here. And we have that nice happening there. And then we're just going to continue on with it. Let's do one over here, but we'll just keep this one simple. Like this is a lot more intricate. We'll keep this one simple with just like 2, maybe 3. Just connect it. There we go. And like I said, if I do it in one place, I like to do it in a couple of other places, especially if I have that color going for me. And then this way it ties in, because sometimes you mix colors and it's hard to get that same shade back again. So if you have it, just kind of lay it out already, because then when you're finished an area, you don't have to kind of worry yourself about trying to get the same color again. And then it ties in nicely. So just keep that in mind. So I did one here. I'll do one coming out from here most likely. Yeah, let's do that. So let's just do, it's too light, so I'm just going to get a darker purple. And we're doing the same thing, so just a quick line, and then I'm not getting my white space in between here, but you know, try as best as you can. If you can get it, great. If you can't, don't worry. The thing is, it's all about trying to get used to doing something that you've not tried before if you're not used to doing strokes like this. So I mean, I think initially when I first started doing the lines, especially for leaves and stuff, it was quite the chore because my hand would keep moving and the lines wouldn't be as nice and straight, I guess. So it was frustrating at first, but trust me, over time you get used to it and you can totally get better. It's just a matter of how often do you do it. Are your hand muscles used to it? And are you used to your brushes? So brushes also play a massive role in such matters, which is why I love my Squirrel Mop brush and the silver black velvet ones. So alright, so I want to have these be a lot looser. So when I say looser, I mean I don't want them connecting. So my issue is that I always automatically kind of go and have them connect, and they shouldn't, because I'm kind of going for a looser feel. So if I want that looser feel, you kind of need to let things go. They don't need to connect. They don't need to kind of finish off. In fact, I could just have a couple more here without any linear lines connecting and kind of keep it light. And then the same thing, so we've got 2 areas. Now we can do a third one. Let's do a third one over here, and these will just be like very, oops, see how this line came out thick for me? I don't want it to be this thick, but it's thick. I have to kind of live with it, but we all do this. It happens. And sometimes even when you're seasoned enough, it happens. So can't beat yourself over it. It's all part of the originality of the painting that you kind of do. So kind of go with it. All right, so I've done these, and I'm just going to add a couple of dots to kind of make it seem like it's just fading off slightly. So we're leaving it at that. But I still have some of my purple left So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some of it with a gray or a black, because I want it to be like this darker mauve purple, I guess you can call it. And what we're going to do with those is we're going to create more leaves. But before I do that, because I don't want it to look too purpley, because we've got quite a few going on, let's do some of the brown that we used for these florals and create some leaves with that. Then we can end off with some purple and then we're done. So for that, let's use the Squirrel Mop brush and get some nice organic leaves going for us. So I'm going to get some of the brown that I had previously. Now the thing with this is just be very careful about how much water you have on your brush and how you lay it down, because if you're laying it down like how I pressed down on here and you saw the water kind of just gushing, your leaf might turn out a lot larger than you anticipated it to be. So just be slightly careful about that, and you should be fine. All right, so I got like a nice brown happening. And I'm just going to add some leaves on this side first. And again, I'm giving it direction. And so I just did a line, and this helps me determine how I'm going to have my leaves now. So I'm going to do one here. And then do another one here. And so you see how when you press down, you get a massive lay of color onto your sheet, because the Squirrel Mop brush is quite, what's the word I'm looking for? It gives you a nice reach with the way this brush is created. I'm just adding some tones of green to these leaves. And then I'm just going to end off with having some random strokes, just indicating leaves in here. And again, giving it direction, right? Like it's all about giving that leaf direction, or the sprig of leaves direction. And then we're going back with the same brown that we've mixed. And I'm just going to add one over here, and this one can go in this direction. Getting more color. There we go. We added that in. I kind of like how that color has been laid down, so I'm just going to add very small amounts of green to it, just to kind of mimic what we did there. All right, now once I've done that, that's good too. Just blending more of the green here, and let's do it in one more area. Let's do it this way. Yeah. And then we can carry on with the other leaves that I promised you. All right, so now that we've done that, we can just do a couple here. And I'm just going to add some of the brown to the edges of it, so it's darker at the tips. And then leave it at that. And now finally, we can go in with the purple, or the purple black that I was talking about. So I want it to be more of a gray than a actual purple, but with kind of hints of purple in it. So it's a gray with hints of purple in it. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I hope I am. So it's like a darker mauve, but we want it to be like we have a dark purple here and we have hints of purple here, so we don't want it to be overpowering to it. So it should be a light rendition of it. So mixing more water with my color, I'm going to get a lighter version of that kind of purple. And we're going to create leaves that are a bit longer. And yeah, so let's just do that. So we'll do some over here. Still too dark. So I need to add more water onto my there we go. Not too bad. So I'm just pulling it forward exactly how I did the first set of leaves, these ones. And then we can give them some detail. And by detail I mean by adding a center for the leaves and maybe even some of the veins. We'll do the same on this end. Again, I like to give it direction, right? So you have this one coming here, we'll do another one this way. And always taking the color back to the center. And remember, my first trick that I was telling you guys in the beginning was if you feel like there's too much water, just take a brush with no color or water on it and just wipe off the excess water or color, and that'll give you a nice soft feel to it. So we're continuing, and we're just going to add them sporadically all around. I'll add some on here too, but this time I think I'll add some blue to my purple, and let's see what sort of effect that gives me here. And that might actually be nicer, we'll see. There we go, there's the blue. And we want to drag the color back to the center like I've been saying. And I'm just taking off some excess water. That's another way you can do it. And where else can we add some? We can add some over here. So I'm just kind of adding strokes without adding a stem to it, just because there's not a lot of space here. So leaving it looser in areas where you feel there isn't much space you can work with to add the stem and everything, so that's totally fine. I'm just going to add some there as well, and then finally we can do some here and we should be good to go after that. Alright, so over here in this direction we're going to do a couple going this way. Why not? And then I'm just going to get some water on this brush and get a lighter version of the leaf on there. And so it almost looks like a light to dark kind of rendition of it. So I'm just going to add another leaf on here. So it looks like a flower by itself too. So sometimes you don't really need to add any more color to your brush. You can just take the water on it and just add a couple of lines that kind of indicate leaves that could probably be in the background or just lighter, that you don't want to draw too much attention to. But they somehow help with giving movement and just adding something a little bit extra to your painting. So yeah, lots to explore when it comes to things like that. Yeah, so this is what we have. I feel like I'll just add a couple here, and then I think we're good to kind of tie things up. And then we just need to finish off doing the yellow in the center. And so I'm just going to do my yellow in the center, getting the same yellow that I had from there. And what we're doing is we're doing the dots and the lines. So I feel like this brown was darker in the center here, so I want my yellow to be a lot brighter. And I'm just doing the dots and the lines to tie this up and finish it off. Now these ones seem to have dried up and they don't quite look as bright. And maybe that'll happen here too, but let's go and get some more yellow happening in on there. Because perhaps I could have gone a lot lighter with the brown so it doesn't overpower with the yellow on top. But this is how you learn, guys, when you try new things and then you figure out, okay, maybe the center was a tad bit too brown, we could have gone lighter, what have you. It's all a learning curve. All right, so I think this is good. This was a more simplistic version of some of the florals I have done in the past. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm just going to quickly read the comments to see what people are saying. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Arlene. And Colleen, thank you. Came out great. You make it look so easy, but it is not. Arlene, trust me. I guess the more you do paint, the more you paint, remember most of the strokes that you're using to create things are kind of very similar. So once you get used to it, you can do it in your sleep. I think I was just saying that to someone today. I just love your loose floral demos. Can you share how you paint the tiny roses like you did on the birthday cake? I have such a hard time with roses. Cindy, for sure. You know what? I'll add a couple over here and I'll show them to you really quickly. So because we want to do tiny ones, I'm going to use the number 4. And let's just use a nice red. So I'm using my English red from St. Petersburg, and I'm getting the color directly out of the color pan. You know what? I'll put that on here so you can see it. And once I have that, I am just going to add, so this is damp, so I just want to make sure that I don't put my hand on there. I'm just going to add some C strokes on here. This is a bit too dry, so I just put the tip of this brush into some water, and I'm just adding the same strokes like I did over here, just on a tinier scale. And now once I have that done, I'm just going to take a brush. The smaller, because it's a tiny rose, I think I need to get a smaller brush to flare things out. So I'm using one of my regular brushes, And I just have water on it, and I'm just going to quickly do the same strokes around. And then this is pretty much smoothing out, not smoothing out, but spreading out the color that you've laid down for the rose, so you get a from dark to light on the outside, and then you have your little rose. So that's how you would get a smaller rose like the one I did on the cake. And I'm just going to add some quick buds for it since I ended up doing them here. And where's some of the green? I'm just going to add some green to extend into it. And just give it some green floral, greenery as well. So it looks like, oh, there's a rose with some leaves. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how you do that. And just because I've done one here and I got to do a couple more, so I'll do it again. I hope this was helpful. Cindy, okay, wow, that was really helpful. And I wanted to add tiny roses. Oh, perfect, Cindy. I hope it turns out well. And if you're able to share, I mean, if you're comfortable, I would love to see what you've done. Just send me a picture on Instagram or Facebook. I love seeing the work you guys send my way. So I'm just doing another one here just because I did one, so I should do more. Also, they're really calming to do, and they're addictive to kind of see come about. So I'm just doing some more here. And like most of you guys know, I like to do my stuff in threes. And by threes I mean 3 areas. It's just a design thing. I guess the designer in me is always stop with the even numbers, do the odd numbers. Yeah, definitely a designer thing. So just adding some greenery very lightly. Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to make sure that the green isn't too prominent, but yeah. So we have, yeah, 2 here, and then we do 1 more, and then we're done. So we've done 2 here. Let's do 1. Let's do 1. Wow, still thinking. Decisions. Let's do 1 over here. For some reason, I keep going, my eye keeps going there. So we'll just do, yeah, a tiny one here. And then just taking the brush. And these are honestly so easy to do because they add a nice pop of color, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. To kind of do it. So you could even do, since I've done one with buds all over, I can just do another one here just to kind of make it seem slightly different from the regular. Yep, and so literally all this is just C strokes or comma strokes. And voila, you have a rose. It's amazing how shapes can kind of form things that way. So always blows me away. I mean, when you break things down, this is how you realize, oh, that's how you do a rose or whatever, because when you're looking at it head on as a complete product, you never really see how simple shapes kind of lead to this pretty beautiful flower, I guess, or just anything that you're trying to draw or paint. Okay, here we go. I think this is good. I hope you guys have liked this. I noticed I did 4 here. I didn't want it to be overpowering for big florals. And yes, actually, WJ, small roses really complement the piece. Yeah, I think so, right? And in fact, I don't know, maybe I'll come back tomorrow and decide to do a couple more. We'll see. But for now, I think this is good. I think you guys got the hang of how you can go about creating something like this. Again, it's super simple. I have a ton of the rose tutorials out there, so you can feel free to check that out whenever you have the time. But even kind of taking from previous tutorials and putting it together to create your own piece can possibly be a project or a challenging project for some of you guys to kind of take on if you wish. But yes, thanks so much for joining me, guys. This was lovely. If you have enjoyed this time, please feel free to share this in your social media circles once this video is live. And comment below. Let me know what you guys think. If you have requests that you would like me to try during our live sessions, I'm more than happy to do that. So just let me know. And I'm hoping everyone is having a really, really good Saturday today, because I'm gonna head on out now with the kids and sit in the front yard because it's really nice and sunny. So wishing you all a lovely, lovely weekend, and we'll chat soon, guys. Thank you. Bye.